All right, quick little shop update. Delta is out. She's parked outside for now. Plan is to get it not parked where it is right now, but to eventually get it down to the farm. It's just it's a little too muddy, and yes, that tire is still flat. Yeah, Delta's sitting right there for now, and finally picked up my truck capper from the guy I bought it from, my buddy. He's been hanging on to it for me. It's been sitting in the back corner of his storage shed, and I finally ran and picked it up. It was like an hour and a half away, and it's just, I had to make some time to do it, and I did it. And so yeah, I just gotta install new locks on it, stuff like that. Taurus still running good, needed a starter. We've added this little shelf. Just whip this up quick because all my jack stands and everything were taking up too much floor space. So all the stands are just like that, and jack rolls under it. Much smaller footprint. Still room for the battery charger, and I actually have a little extra shelf space, so I can either get some more jack stands or I will just leave it for empty shelf space, which is nice. Never have too many shelves. This build, this is just a little spur of the moment idea. Doesn't have to be pretty. I've been wanting to build my tune-up box, my general tune-up box, for a while. So everything I need to tune up an old car to do, whether it has points or an HEI or something like that, or a motorcycle, some generic, the most common carburetors I run into have like a Quadrajet, a basic gasket set, an accelerator pump, and 2GC, some gasket paper, all that. This has just been like my junk tools. And I used to have a drawer. One of the drawers on my workbench used to be my tune-up drawer, but I've wanted it to be mobile for a while because I keep going to people's houses, and every time I got to throw something together quick and run it out there, and it's just been annoying. So yeah, my timing light, which can do dwell and RPM and all that, fits up here nicely. Only problem is I can't fit my nice old school dwell meter from the 70s, my RAC one. And it's a really nice one. And you might be wondering, what's all this ugly stuff I welded on? Doesn't have to be pretty. We're going to grind the welds down and throw some generic red paint on it. But what is all this ugly stuff I welded on here? Well, it's for my vacuum gauge. She slots in like that, and then this comes down. You close her up and holds her steady on the side of the box. So that's kind of nice. There's just a little tab down here. It's plug welded on. So that's kind of nice that that's all in one spot now. My original plan was to, that's my timing light case. My original plan was to do the same thing on this side. It's like, wait a second. I bet you my timing light will fit up here. And it does. So I just got to cut out a piece of foam, and it'll hold it in place up there super nicely. But now I just got to paint the box, and we should be all set. I got to clean up in there and paint the rest of it. But yeah, it turned out pretty nice, I would say. It's just all, I should have bent this up and then welded it on, but I welded it onto this corner, and then I had to heat and bend, and it was just a nightmare. Did it in the wrong order, but it turned out okay. The final thing that we're gonna update on. This is not an update. I've had this sitting on the shelf for a while. It's 1970 Olds 350 Quadrajet. My Cutlass Supreme is a 2-barrel. I want to keep it as original as possible. But I'm also on a hunt with that particular car. It's like the best mileage combination I've ever seen in a classic car. I can get over 20 miles to the gallon with a 350 V8, which is pretty good. No converter lock either. No EFI. This is points and a carb. That's on a 2-barrel. But if you know anything about GM carburetors from the 60s and 70s, the 2GC and the 2GV, they flow about 500 CFM. So you got these big butterflies that are getting tweaked in and out. And if you're not super careful on the throttle, it's really easy to tank your mileage really quick. It took me a while to get over 20, but I was able to test and tune and tweak things and lean it out a little bit. And I can get over 20 on the highway. 20 and a half is the best I've gotten. But anyways, 2Gs run about 500 CFM rated at. So what they actually run at, probably 80% of that. Depending on, if you do a choke delete and all that, I'm sure you could get them to flow a whole crap ton more if you really wanted to. Quadrajets, 73, I think 73, and newer Quadrajets were 800 CFM. And then the older ones were 750. And you can tell if you go inside here, you can tell. I forget exactly how you tell because I never really care. I have a 73 in the shelf that came with the Vista Cruiser, and then I swapped it out for the correct 70 A-body, non-442, 455. But this is a proper 1970. Where's the number? There's our number. Oh, come on. Give us the number. There we go. 704250. That is the 350 A-body, or all 350s. I think it was because all 350s in 1970 ran the same cam except for the W31, and they all ran the same carburetor except for the W31. The only thing special on the W31 was big jets and just take the rods out. These, just take them out. Just dump fuel down an open hole all the time because we're set to go. So that, I don't think you're going to see better mileage. But the primaries on these, instead of running 500 CFM, these are about 350 CFM. So I'm thinking, as many other people have not thought, but have actually proven, that this spread bore carburetor right in front of me will get the best mileage you could get out of a carburetor, a conventional carburetor. Now, some people may see better results than a Quadrajet with an Edelbrock. Maybe with a Carter they might see something better. But I think for the best average economy and power, this is what you want. A good pre-emissions Quadrajet. And I just happen to have one that is for the car that I want to put it on. I will always hang on to the 2-barrel. I might even put it back on, depending on how I like this. Depending on if that car gets restored. Well, when it gets restored, I might put it back to a 2-barrel. We'll see. But I think for now, in the hunt for maximum miles per gallon, 4-barrel's going on. But I got another caveat to the 4-barrel. It has to look mostly original. So I found, for a good price, I think $90, which was a little bit of a gamble because I couldn't tell how rusted out it was, but I found a 69 Cutlass air cleaner, 4-barrel. You can tell by the lid, but also 4-barrel. It's got to be blasted. I'll paint it hot rod black at work, but the heat riser valve does move. I haven't tested to see if the vacuum diaphragm works. If not, I'll have to replace it. But we have this air cleaner, And for sale in Indiana is the intake manifold. It's a special intake manifold. We want it to be as original as possible, but it is not an Oldsmobile intake manifold, an OEM or OES manifold. It is an Edelbrock Performer, but it's an older Edelbrock Performer. I don't like the new Edelbrock intake manifolds because A, they're like $450, and I'm cheap, so I'm not going to spend that. And B, if you get the air gaps or the single plane or even the dual plane ones, they do not have provisions for a hot air choke. The one I'm buying is an aluminum Edelbrock Performer dual plane, good for street and torque and all that, but it has provisions for a hot air choke in the exhaust crossover, which is perfect because then I can run factory choke exactly how it's supposed to, and it will run beautifully. Now, the only downside to this is that it is EGR applicable as well, which makes it's kind of an odd duck, but the only downside to that is on the side of the manifold there's a little block that comes up that's blocked off where the EGR could go. Won't be using that. It'll be a little ugly in my opinion, but we'll have a little bit of weight saving, not too worried about it except from an efficiency standpoint, and mainly the increased flow. And when I put it on, I am going to port match to the gaskets, and we will do that on the heads and on the intake manifold. So we'll port match everything real quick, and it should work out fine. Clean up the runners just a little bit, but we should have increased flow, slightly lighter weight, and a better designed intake manifold. We'll paint it gold probably, so that it doesn't look too out of place. But yeah, that's the plan for the Cutlass at some point this year. And the whole other goal was to do this as cheaply as possible. So carburetor, I paid $100 for a good one. I mean, the butterflies for the air doors are a little rusty, but we'll clean those up. We'll go through, clean things up. If we have to replate things with a spray can, we will. But we'll go through, clean things up, wire wheel these down so they're nice and shiny again. Just get everything taken care of so that it can run decent on the car. Anyways, $100 for this carburetor, which was not that bad of a price. I put gasoline in it. It doesn't leak. I'm sure I could bolt this thing on and it would start right up. Air cleaner was $90, which isn't that bad for even for one that's rusty like this. For a 4-barrel air cleaner from a factory 4-barrel air cleaner, not a bad price. It even still has the gasket in the lid to seal the air, which we'll try and save when we sandblast it. And then the intake manifold, which is usually the super expensive part. And in this case it also is, but not super expensive. It's $180, which is a pretty good price. And the guys, he won't ship it to me, which is a little frustrating, but it's 3.5 hours away. It's worth it for me to go get it. And he's holding it for me. He's got 2 other people interested, and they would have been there sooner, but I messaged him first. And he's actually holding it for me, and I really do appreciate that. And all this is going to happen probably midsummer. I want to take the same drive. I plan on taking the Vista Cruiser to Oldsmobile Homecoming this year, and I'd like to take, but I'd also like to take the Cutlass on the same drive to Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is about 320 miles. And last time I did it on less than a tank in the Cutlass. And that's when I got my 20.5 miles to the gallon. But also in Kalamazoo in August, there's the Red Barn Spectacular at the Gilmore Car Museum. So if I get this Quadrajet put on there before then, it's roughly in the same spot in Kalamazoo versus Lansing. Like an hour and a half away or something like that. Could potentially get a, sorry, somebody's walking past the shop. Could very well get a, man, they're being a little loud. Blasting their tunes. Anyways, could do roughly the same drive with the Quadrajet. Still in the cut list, just later in the year. And we could definitely see how accurate it is. Same drive, same all that. See, that'd be a really good way if we could test the fuel efficiency. And that was over 320 miles with the 2-barrel. It was 320 miles. I used I forget exactly. It was like 18 gallons of gas or something. And that brought us out to about 20. I don't remember exactly how much gas I used, but I know it was 20.45 miles to the gallon. So maybe this year we will do a not very scientific, but somewhat educational or educated test, doing a similar drive in the same car, but with a different carburetor. Change nothing else. Even the same tires will be on it, but same type of fuel, same speed, average 70 miles per hour the whole way there. No cruise control because it doesn't have it. Same car, same weight, same drive, same season of the year, summertime. Only thing that'll change is intake, carburetor, and air cleaner. And the air cleaner really isn't going to change that much because they all breathe through the same sized intake snorkel, or approximately the same size. So that's not really going to be that big of a change. Biggest change will be carburetor and intake manifold. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's what turned in to be twice as long as I expected shop update video. But this Saturday we should have a nice shiny used intake manifold that can go on the Cutlass at some point this year, hopefully, if I get around to it. That's it. I'm gonna paint the toolbox and get out of here.